When it comes to the survivors, what are some of the things that they say that they wish they knew or that somebody had told them?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things that, like I said, they say they wish they knew is that what exactly their rights and responsibilities are in case of labor as someone who's on Canadian soil. Also that you know legislation and supports understand the reality of consent, right? And that there's a lot of gray area within that, and that there are supports for them regardless of whether they consented to something or not. So we hear that a lot is, um, will anyone help me? Will anyone listen to my story? Also, that we understand that if an individual has been trafficked and forced to be a trafficker, um, there is legal considerations and considerations in those cases as well. And so we hear sometimes survivors talk about how they would have come out sooner if they knew that their story would be understood to in its full effect.
Right.
Um,
Holistic point of view, right? Taking into account all of it.
exactly.
Wow.
And also, understanding that the realities of trafficking situations are very different than what we see in the media. So we often hear people say that they didn't come out because their story was not flashy enough. They weren't sure if they would really get help because it didn't look like um, you know them being kidnapped and taken away. It looked like something very different. So just recognizing that every story is different,
Mhm.
and that and sharing first voice stories as well as facts about what these situations look like.
Which is probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, also another reason why um, sharing accurate stories, not resorting to sensationalism, why that's so important. And, you know, I guess in the entertainment industry, when it comes to movies or shows, the disservice that's being done when it is this like flashy, dramatic kidnapping and whatever that looks like. Not to say that the actual because I not saying that the actual situations are not tragic and horrific and dramatic, but when we're trained that this is what it looks like, then when people are in it, it's like, well, mine isn't that, so it must not be, right? So another point
Exactly.
that.
It actually makes us harder to flag it, and it actually makes it harder for those individuals to come out.
Ugh,
So it's just to be aware of that. Yeah,
such a great point. Cassandra, what can we do to better support survivors?
absolutely. So we here at ACT Alberta use a person-centered and trauma-informed approach. I think that's really important. That goes back to what I was saying about person-centered means we approach survivors with letting them lead the support. So what that means is, how do you want to be labeled? What are you comfortable with? We don't force reporting. So although we work with law enforcement, we do not, if individuals don't want to go that route, they're not ready for that, we support them at whatever they're ready for and wherever they're at. So that's important, and to use language and labels that these individuals are comfortable with,
Mhm.
um, and to work collaboratively. So there's a role for all of us to have. There's community organizations, there's the awareness and education pieces, right, that are important. There's also community supports and the need for us to work collaboratively with law enforcement as well. And to remember that law enforcement's role is to lay the charges on the criminals, and our role is to support the victims. And so, in providing that collaboration, we're sure to meet both those needs. Um, so, I'm just going to add To better support survivors, there's also, we can look to the 4Ps, they call it, by the Canadian National Action Plan, and that's protection. So protecting and assisting those who have been trafficked, prevention, preventing and combating human trafficking, prosecution, which is prosecuting the traffickers, and partnerships. So like we said, promoting cooperation amongst organizations as well as countries to meet the above goals.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Again, we will link to all of the resources. And Cassandra, thank you for the work that you do and that ACT Alberta continues to do in our province. It's truly, you know, I am so grateful for all of you and what you do. So thank you.
Same to you. Thank you for the work that you do and your commitment to spreading this awareness and this information in a responsible way.
Thank you.